Okay, everyone. This is our Zoom session for just inspirational stories with the DEEMS device or the med bed with Chris O'Connor. And I wanted to go first and share my first story with the DEEMS device. My name is Brittany. I'm actually Chris's niece. And so I was very honored to be one of the first to experience a really awesome moment with the DEEMS. So, for those of you who don't know, I experienced a spinal injury that was quite traumatic. It left me with so much neurological damage. I was partially paralyzed for a moment. I couldn't eat. Like the list is really long, and I don't want to sound like a sob story, so I'll save that for another day. But I was also experiencing seizures, and I had a couple of seizures and they were pretty severe. And my uncle flew from Hawaii to Texas and he brought the Deems and he's like, okay, I know this might sound kind of weird, but trust me. So I'm just laying on the floor because I had so much pain. I was so weak. All I could really do was lay on the floor and go from room to room laying on the floor. And so he's like, okay, he explained the device to me and he sat on the floor above my head and he placed the Deems under my neck, wasn't it?
No, it was I had you having your hand on it, your left hand, or was either that or was on your chest, but it was either
Okay.
under your hand or on your chest. I forget which.
Yeah, we had moved it a few times, so I couldn't remember. Um, but at the time, well, I had recently found out that part of my spinal injury was I had a neck fracture that no one found until 2 years later, and that was actually causing the miscommunication between my brain and my body because it did not heal properly. So I had a lot of pain in that area. So we're laying on the floor, and I remember like you placed your hands under like my shoulders.
Yeah, right at the base of your neck, under your shoulders. I had it cupped like that, and I was holding your head. You were
Yeah.
facing up. You know.
Yeah, it was just so amazing because I don't even know like exactly what was happening because I'm just thinking like I'm just trying to breathe through the pain. And you're, I think you're talking to our guides
Mhm.
and you're doing whatever you're doing. And then something just like left my body. And you even felt like my body like sink down into your hands because I was so stiff from the seizures. My muscles were so seized up. My body just went whoop. It just like you could physically see that it released something. So what did that feel like for you in that moment? Like what were you doing?
Well, need to step back a little bit, and you probably wouldn't tell the story that way, but because you didn't, you were actually paralyzed for a period of time.
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean, from the
mention
neck
it.
down.
I don't mention it because people tell me that I'm lying, and but I need to share that. So thank you.
Yeah, that's a very important part of it. You had a neck injury caused, unfortunately through a chiropractic accident, and you were paralyzed. And then it was a 4-year journey of you trying. It didn't take that long to get back. I mean, it was only some weeks with the paralyzation, but you have 3 kids and a husband, and it was 4 years before guidance said it was time for your healing.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that was a tough 4 years. I
I
mean, not,
know.
I mean, on you especially, obviously, and the family, but I mean, I was having to wait. And that sometimes the waiting is the worst part.
Yeah.
So for whatever journey you had to go on, it took about 4 years. And then when it was time, you were having some troubles, and guidance said it's time. And I had a house guest in Hawaii, and I left them there, and I
Yeah,
was gone 4 hours after I got off the phone with you. I was on a plane. You know,
your girl
uh,
feels special, you know.
well, I mean, yes, but
I know it
it
wasn't
says to
me,
go, you're
but you
good.
know.
You know. So there I am. and like you say, you were on the floor, and I had my hand underneath your neck, right, right in this area. And hadn't moved a muscle. I hadn't moved for at least 5 minutes. And we had the DEEMS there, and I was just bringing energy through the DEEMS through your body. And I could feel as I'm holding your neck, I could feel your vertebrae clicking 3 times, click, 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 and they aligned all by themselves. And that was in a way that you were told by surgeons that the only way to get that to move that way was to have a surgery. And so all that trouble that you had for 4 years, we're sitting there, brought in all this energy, your body healed itself, and you literally sat up.
I did. I did.
And I'm like, you've been healed. And she's like, I was just, I knew it was a matter of fact. Well, you're healed. You can sit up now.
It's like you said, you started crying. You're like, you healed. You're healed. All right, we're good.
Yeah. And you sat up, and it was that was the experience. It was over as far as that physical ailment. That time, there's a lot of other things that people don't always understand about healing. You have to heal the physical body, you have to heal the spiritual body, you have to heal the electrical body. So those don't always come into sync and heal at the same time.
Mhm.
So that was really a journey for you that you had to go through. And it's not easy. Healing isn't always an easy thing, but you did it.
It's messy. It's messy, and there's so many layers. And because of healing the way that I did, I got to learn about each individual body, you know,
Yes.
and so that's invaluable information. Um, yeah, so that's one of many miracles I experienced, but that's the first one with the Deems, and it was just really powerful. I remember feeling really tingly and like, what just happened? Like that was
Yeah,
just super cool.
it
Um,
was. Of course, my friend that I left in Hawaii is no longer my friend. They were still I'm like, whatever.
Bless them.
But, so yeah, that was a good story. I mean, it's a good, it was a beautiful experience for both of us.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, and then recently with the bed on your property, so I had a session on my birthday, August 24th, August 24th. I don't even know my birthday anymore, guys. August 21st of this year. Um, I happened to be traveling through and we stopped at Uncle Chris's and I got to climb in the med bed and I usually have something specific I'm working on. Um, but we were in the middle of moving and I just felt really out of touch with myself at the time. And so they're saying like, what's your intention when you climb on the bed? Just think of a goal that you have. And I started to feel kind of frustrated because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I need to like label in my mind. And I'm a little bit type A sometimes. And I kept feeling like I needed something. And so I just spent a few moments and was asking my guidance, like, I don't know what to do. I feel out of touch. And they're like, well, don't you want to just feel whole again? And so I'm like, oh, that's a good one. Like, yeah, I'd love that. Like, I just don't want to feel broken. So I've experienced so many healings. And so this past August, we were approaching 7 years. So October will be 7 years since my injury, my neck fracture. And I was just like, I'm so tired of carrying all this around with me. I just want it gone. I'm over it. I'm ready. Um, but I still didn't know like what to label it. Like that felt like a really long description. And I'm like thinking, I didn't doubt that the energy would move, but still my type A, the analytical side of me was still like, that's so many things. What if I'm asking the wrong thing or thinking the wrong thing? Like I was still doubting myself. And I caught myself and I was like, if you were someone else and you were talking someone else through this, what would you tell them? And I was like, oh, you're right. I wouldn't have any doubts if it was somebody else. I'd be like, nope, you got it. Don't overthink it. You're good. So I switched to
Yeah.
my thinking and just felt like it is it is what it is. I put it out there what I would like to receive, and I'm just gonna focus on love and light. So I did. And in the bed, um, it was a really incredible experience. I I was like almost floating in my mind. I felt like I was floating, but I saw like my energy body and it looked like a puzzle. And each, like, there were several puzzle pieces that were pulled away from my body. Like, so I was like 70% done. I was like a 70% completed puzzle. And at the same time, I was feeling this energy rise up, like in my abdomen. And there was a lot of energetic pressure, but not in a painful way. It just felt like the energy just felt intense. And I'm also sensitive to energy. So I guess it felt even more intense to me, but it was just pushing up and up and up. And every time it would like make it a little further, the sensation, I would see these puzzle pieces sliding back into my energy body. And it was going up like at my feet. And they were just clicking in, clicking, clicking. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting visual. So I kept breathing into that. And at the time, I'm like, I have no idea really what's happening, but this is really cool. Um, but that just continued. And then that pressure went out my neck and my left shoulder. And I've always had a lot of problems with my left shoulder because it actually turned purple with because of the neck fracture. So there was just a lot of damage. And it just like I felt something huge leave me. And I got off the bed and everyone's like, so how was it? And I'm like, it was really amazing. I feel completely different, but I have no idea what happened. I felt so like bizarre, but in a good way. I was like, I don't feel like I'm the same person anymore. So I went to sleep and the next day I was like, I still feel really different. I just can't even pinpoint it. So we got that. It was some type of rebirthing. And so I'm like thinking, that's amazing. I accept that and I'm appreciative of that. And I did not know what happened until just a couple weeks ago. I found a new doctor here where we moved, so they wanted to take new x-rays of my spine. And my x-rays have always been a very stressful thing for me because I can see the damage. The damage is very evident in very specific locations. And every doctor that's looked at them has been like, wow, like you lived through this. Like that's your textbook. I'm a textbook weirdo, I guess. So everyone's fascinated by my x-rays, but I've not liked them. So I got my new x-ray results and we're sitting there and the doctor looks at me and he goes, I have no idea what happened. This isn't normal, but I can't find any evidence that you had an injury. And he just sat there speechless. And I'm like looking at it. I know I've seen enough x-rays to know, okay, I'm going to like look for this. And I'm like having him scroll and I'm like, my C5 vertebrae, like zoom in. Like I want to see this. And you can't even like there's no resemblance of the fracture. The fracture was like 90% across my C5 vertebrae. And you know, if you've broken a bone, when bones heal, they heal and it leaves a mark because it's supposed to be stronger. There's more calcium there. There's no mark. There's nothing. There's no mark. My vertebrae in my neck that were fused together because it healed incorrectly since I went misdiagnosed for so long. Nothing's fused together. Everything is completely healthy on a structural level. And I just cried. He's like, you can cry if you need to. No, I'm like, but I knew he didn't have time for me to tell him the story about the bed, but I knew. And so I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, like I figured out what happened on the bed. Like that's what pushed out. Like I asked, my intention, as complicated as it felt to me, was nothing. My complicated explanation for what I needed was so simple and so easy. So I was just, I don't know, I'm still blown away when I think about it, but that's what was pushed out. And my puzzle pieces were put back together. I was made whole, and the scars that are supposed to be impossible to rid yourself of just got pushed right out. So it's just amazing.
Yeah,
I
great.
know. Yay, everyone. Claps.
Well, that is amazing, for sure. But that was your body healing itself. That's how we are supposed to be able to do it. you know.
Yeah. We are capable of so much more.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what the Deems is kind of about, is not about it being a crutch of it ultimately for everybody. It's really about a tool for people to use and remember that they have the capacity to heal themselves. The Deems is just giving you a lot more energy to do that in the moment, but it's not really doing anything but producing energy.
Yeah.
PA's electric energy and a electromagnetic energy. That's all it's doing. And then your body is taking that in and healing itself. Until we remember how to draw that energy in for ourselves, which is what earthing or grounding is about, then, we don't need any tools. But until then, we do. So,
Yeah, it's helpful while we have
yeah.
it, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just thinking in that sense, what do you do with the deems? Do you make wishes for it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can hear you.
Yes, because I mean, I understand also it's like an intuitive tool. I think you mentioned something like that. So I'm also thinking, because I heard about med beds, for instance, that people say, yeah, but you cannot go into a med bed and just get cured because if it's your karmic endeavors, you have to go through, so you cannot just get healed and fixed in that sense. And of course, I understand that. But I also heard like a veteran, a young veteran that was getting a new limb. He had lost his leg, and he went to a med bed and he got a new leg. I mean, so it's like, what's the difference? I mean, with your karmic endeavors and things you have to go through, and what is possible, sort of, if you understand my question.
Yeah. So essentially, with the Deems itself, it, like Brittany was saying, and a couple other people in the panel right now have been on the bed and I think everybody's worked with the Deems at some degree. But it's like I said, it only produces an energy, and it's your power of manifestation and self-healing that's
Mm,
doing the work, and so sometimes we're conscious of it, and we have to, we are conscious in this 3D body. We're conscious of it, and we need to keep that in mind as our intention when using the Deems or on a med bed, as you're saying. And that intention is a frequency of thought and creation and vibration. And then it works with those magnetic and piezoelectric energies, and it just increases your ability to manifest. Uh,
mm,
and that's really what the high technology is about. It's not about stitching on a leg, as you say, unless that's in your intention to happen. So it comes down to the individual responsible for themselves. And that's kind of the key,
mm,
is that we got to take responsibility for ourselves, understand ourselves, and realize what we're capable of, which is miraculous things. We're all a part of source. We're all a part of God, right?
mm,
God and source, same person, brought the universe into creation. And if we're a part of that entity, a small part, that means we can think things into
Mm.
manifestation and reality. We just have forgotten, you know.
Exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
I was trying for a while, but this is a while ago to heal my eyes because it's like coming with aging, they get, I mean, your eyes get tired and you start wearing glasses and it's increasing. So I was trying to do it for a bit, but I just felt I could f keep it sort of just like at a certain level. But I stopped healing it, if I can say so, a while ago. But I don't know if but it should be possible. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we're all still human and we have little things that, we get in our head that block us from our true manifestation self. But it's anything that we can do for ourselves is
Mm.
moving forward. So don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah, I
No,
would,
exactly. And I've actually, no, yeah, so, yeah, because I don't even, I think I was a bit afraid of the tool in the beginning, not think I was, because it was so intense, this energy coming from the teams when I received it. I was just looking at it. I was almost afraid to grab it because I could just feel intense power. I was just like, my gosh, what will I do? But after a while, I started using it and I could feel how powerful it was. And I felt a lot of energy through my body. And I've had some strong experiences with it. And then I had actually, I think this is like maybe a year ago or so, I was healing a couple of times. A friend of mine who was suffering from a very severe concussion she was very damaged and she could really feel good energies. And I think maybe the second or third time I was using it on her in the healing, actually what happens is that the next day, because I was really tuning into the using, how to use it and when to stop. So I was giving her a massage healing and just use the device for maybe 10 minutes or so, something like that. And I stopped when I just felt, okay, it's enough for now. So what happens is the next day she calls me or texts me that she has had such a revival of the trauma that she was so afraid. All the symptoms had come back really, really strong. So she had actually been able to let go of the symptoms and gone through a very profound and deep healing, which I tried to explain to her. But of course, she was really terrified because she had like nauseous and she felt she was back to the exact time when the accident happened. And she was. She was
Hmm.
going back and feeling it. So it was
Yeah.
really deep. So I said that I cannot control what your body is ready to do. This was what I would explain to her because your body was ready to let go. You had gotten used to the DEEMS a couple of times and my healing technology, abilities, and now you tried it for the third time and you go really like all in. I cannot control that. That is your work.
Yeah.
But of course, I was shocked, of course. So it stopped me for a while because it was a very profound healing that was really deep. So,
Mm.
yeah, so I think the next time I started using it again is recently, and in the couple past month, where I did some remote healings. Amazing, amazing. And there I just felt like an intense power, and it had such a strong impact on the people I did it on. They had such strong results, and they fell asleep, and they were really like going in a very deep healing process. This just reminds me of the powers that we have when we communicate, right? Anyway, so that gave me the courage back. Yeah. So, but also just a reminder for myself of that I can actually heal myself on a deeper level than I think I'm able to do, right? Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
May I ask you a question, Aya?
Yeah.
So you're saying her healing was that she went back through the trauma to bring it
Yeah.
up and then to get rid of it. That reminds me of is that what you're saying?
I
It's
think so because this was my feeling because she had all the symptoms from that exact day the accident happened when she
so
fell
it
and hit
brought
her
it
head.
up so
Yeah,
she
it
can
brought it
get rid
all
of
up.
it.
The whole
Yeah.
thing with the nauseous and she was
Wow.
I mean, it all came back. The whole trauma was just arising again.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of years ago, you'd take something, for, a vitamin or
Mm.
to purge your system, to detox. And it's only been in the last several years since I've met Brittany and then another mutual friend of ours that I've taken stuff, and you'll break out in a rash. Well, years ago, before I knew about it, I'd think, oh, I'm allergic to it. No, it's doing its job. It's bringing it up, and then you're detoxifying through your skin. So when you said that about your friend, I'm like, oh, that's what had happened. It brought it to the surface, and then when you get rid of it, then it's gone. That's exactly what you reminded me of when you were saying that. My brain went back to, yeah, that rash you got when you were detoxing. It's like, ooh, what's this again? And then as soon as it clears up, then it's gone.
Mhm.
It really, that's interesting.
It is. It
And
is.
it should be, I think, this way, because even, and Chris can correct me, like I'm studying QHHT and I'm start practicing and I enjoy it so much. It's a quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression. And that's what we're doing. We bring person into that trauma situation.
Mm.
And when he goes through the trauma or from some life where even the person will get rid of that or get rid of the karma or that purging, all that. Actually, I was, as Chris was talking, I had a revolution because when I was there, I think after the Britney on the medbed the next day with the DEEMS device, and I keep saying something is happening with my left side. I feel like someone telling me we're working on, and I feel like whole my left side was doing something, and it's like a whole session, and it was 528 frequency, and I was like even leaning, and Larry was adjusting because I was like keep leaning because I feel something's going on there, like physically, not so painful but disturbing. And I'm thinking I'm working with the people, and I'm trying to tell them to not use left side of the brain because we need to be more creative, and that's where our images and more spiritual parts in our right side. And I'm like, maybe that was upgrading. And because I hear the words, we upgrading you, we upgrading, we're working on. And I'm like, maybe I was so much into my left side of the brain, they were working on to upgrade. And after that, I saw the guide. I mean, that was an amazing. And it's all, I just want to say thank you to Chris, because when I met Chris first through my husband, and I went from, I think, 0 to, I don't know where I am right now, but I feel I jump with his help so much, with his guidance. Like I have tears coming out. It's amazing. It's just like the place where I am right now. I am so happy, and I'm very thankful to him. And all the friends, Brittany, and for your remote session, that was amazing too. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Vika.
I know I already asked a question, but can I say about the first time I saw the DEEMS device, I was with Chris in person, and he was showing a demonstration, and my knee, every now and then my knee will go into, you know, how your joints, they'll hurt for a while, for weeks, and then they'll get better, and maybe you'll exercise or whatever. Well, it had been bothering me, my right knee, and it hurt when I walked, it hurt when I sat down. And so he gave me the device. He said, here, just put that on it. I said, what do I do? He said, just put it on it. And I didn't really even know, like what he said a minute ago, you give your body the energy and then tell your body what to do with the energy. I didn't even realize that's what to do, but I was just focused on just, you know, okay, my knee, make it stop. And so 15, 20 minutes later, we were talking to people, and he turned around and he said, who has the device? So I said, I have it. You need it? He said, yeah. Are you done with it? And I said, yeah, it's been about 20 minutes. And I stood up to hand it to him. And when I stood up, there was no pain in my knee at all. And I didn't even say anything. And I went, as I handed him the device, and he went, he just grinned, and I'm like, my knee doesn't hurt. He's like, yep. So that was my first experience, but it was a night and day. It hurt, and then it didn't.
Yeah. And it's funny because they don't even realize it sometimes. Like, wait, it doesn't hurt anymore. Just
Right. Right. Wow.
Yeah.
I would like to add to just the context in like your intention whenever you're feeling like, oh, I'm going to work on this specific thing. Um, if you're not seeing that immediate result, like because it's awesome whenever we're able to relieve our pain and it's an instant or close to an instant reward. But if we're working on healing something deeper, like you were mentioning your eyes, um, it can sometimes feel like, oh, okay, I can't do this. It's not happening soon enough. It's not happening right away. So maybe I'm not doing something right, or maybe I'm not meant to receive this healing. So, what I've learned is even if you don't see that result right now, are you going to cry? You look like you're going to cry. If you don't see that result right now, that does not mean you're not working on it, because just having that intention in that moment, you could be changing the entire trajectory of your journey. You know, it's going to change your frequency to where you'll be able to attract things that can help you build on that goal that you have. So healings can look like all sorts of things. So if you're focused on one thing and it's not turning out the way you're expecting it, just look in other areas and avenues and still hang on to that hope and faith that you have, because you do deserve that. You do deserve that healing and that renewal of whatever you're working on. So just tidbit there.
Yeah, it all comes down to knowing thyself and healing thyself. It all comes down to that, because that's spiritual growth. So,
So I'll share. I know I came in last minute. I found out about this last minute, but I've had a few miraculous things happen. And so I've had a DEEMS device for at least 2 years. And right before I went to Las Vegas, where I was going to see Chris, and I mean, it was just like a month ago, I had an injury. And it was one of those kind of injuries that sneaks up on you. And at the point that I got on the airplane, it was about 7 days in, and I couldn't move my whole left arm here. I actually thought I tore something, because I lift weights. So I thought I tore something. And it was getting so bad that on the airplane, I couldn't do anything with my left hand. So then I was really overcompensating on my right. So when I got to Las Vegas, I took the gold DEEMS device from Chris, and I slept with it. I couldn't even lay properly. It was so bad that it was affecting how I laid on the bed. I couldn't get up and down. So I just kind of laid it underneath my arm, and I laid flat, and I slept like that. And when I got up the next morning, I mean, it went from like a pain that was like 8 and 9 to about a 5. And then I went one more night, the next night, because I was only there for 2 nights, and I slept with it again. And when I got up the next morning, all pain gone. And I could lift my arm all the way up. It was just like, oh my God. And of course, I was a little bit lopsided, and I had a little pain in my leg at that point, because I'd been overcompensating for this for too long. And, but it really helped. It was like, it pushed something through it totally. And I mean, I was laying there, and I was, practicing, how I was even talking to myself about it. But I also went on the med bed at Chris's house, and that was pretty insane. So before, we had our session, and then, before we laid on the med bed, he balances your chakras. And I had purposefully shut down my third eye, and I wasn't really aware that I had purposely shut it down until of course, I did the session that I had shut it down, because I was really getting too much information visually, and I was hearing a lot, and I was not trusting any of it anymore. So I went through a couple year period where I just said, okay, I don't want to hear anything or see anything. I just want to feel it in my gut. So by the time I was going through this healing session, when we went in the room to get the balancing, he put the DEEMS on my third eye, and I felt 2 electric currents go right into my temples. It was an electric shock. It was noticeable, and I was like, "Whoa, that's incredible." And then when I got on the bed, that was also amazing. My third eye opened up immediately. I had all kinds of crazy visions, just stuff. It was like a lot of people, random places, and but it was, and then information was just flowing through. In fact, I was talking the whole time that I was on the bed, because it was very it felt like an interaction with whoever's in the room too. I don't know why. It was just Larry and Chris, and I had a lot of stuff come through. It was so weird. And I had told them, this is going to sound strange, but I said, have you ever played the game Trumps, the card game? And both men go, no. And I said, they just told me that the reason that Trump is the last card played in the darkness. And I was just getting, information was just coming in, but it was definitely opened my third eye. So since then, now I've noticed my third eye is very active again, and especially at night. But definitely the DEEMS. I took it over to my mom's house the other day because she wasn't doing good. Now, she's in her late 80s. She's a little bit unresponsive because she doesn't want to deal with it. But I have lots of friends that because I have the like first generation DEEMS. The gold one is the one I used in Las Vegas. But definitely I can attest to, I don't know that I would have been able to get through what I was going through in Las Vegas without that device. I just don't know. I was working on it. I had already had massages. I had had stretching from a professional. Nothing was working. Nothing seemed to be working. And 2 nights sleeping with the DEEMS was like amazing. So thank you. And I adore Chris like the rest of you probably. And nice to meet you, Brittany. And I'm assuming that's Angelo's wife.
Yes, Vika.
Vika. Hi. I met your husband at GSIC 2 years ago. Actually, when I
try to
introduced
text him
myself to
right
Chris.
now, like come to the Zoom class, but I think maybe the connection is pretty bad in the property. So
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, I did talk to him. Well, after I was at Chris's the last time when we were in Colorado, I did talk to Angelo for a little bit, because the whole reunion thing, how we met, and then how our connection was Chris. And then Brittany,
Yeah,
I
he told me about you.
Say that again.
I said, I've heard a lot about you.
Oh, same. Yes. Last time I was at his house, I was going through his kitchen. And I'm like, oh, this looks good. Oh, that looks good. He's like, oh yeah, Kaleo got me that. Oh, Kaleo got me this. You seem like an awesome friend to him. So it's nice to finally meet you, see your face.
Yeah, we have I mean, when I met him the first time, he came to my restaurant for dinner. Well, I actually introduced myself to him at an event, but he was really busy closing up at the event. So I didn't get in. He showed up to dinner with some friends of mine, and then that's how we kind of got to know each other. And I had a lot of dreams about him that night because I have a very strong soul connection to him. And so because of that, I mean, it's there's just a lot going on there. So I'm like, it's a strong comfort zone for me. He's a split of my husband, who's also still alive, but not in a good body, and he's not doing well. But so I feel like I'm like finishing an incarnation with somebody successfully, if you can understand that.
I can track with that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool when you meet other people and connections like that. It's amazing.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Also, what I wanted to add to your story, Kaleo, about when you were on the bed was that the one thing you said that you wanted to happen was you wanted to see visions again.
Yeah.
Is that was your intention?
Yeah. My intention was to get my third eye open again and moving. And that happened immediately on the bed. In fact, it was I was the most visual I've been before and after was right then. I mean, I get visual, but not like that. That was just like, I just was like watching a movie. And it was very random, though. I wasn't able to control anything.
Yeah. Well, that's cool though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. So, but yeah, no, since then, I mean, that's why Monique got a DEEMS, because I brought the DEEMS to her house. I left it there. I've actually given it to a few healers to try and use. And, just for a lot of people, it's, unless they're in the mode that we're all kind of in, it's, there's a belief system that has to shift a little, for them. But it's wonderful. And I have a brother too who's coming on board now all of a sudden very fast.
Yeah, I did a session for him a year and a half ago.
Yeah. In fact, no, not even that long ago. Didn't you do it the last time you were in Hawaii, like about 4 months ago?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just saw him yesterday and we talked about it. And his roommate wants a session with you when you come back. And Kurt's he said it was very helpful for him.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's awesome.
I have a question. Like after you use DEEMS device, there we go, the question. Sorry, I jump ahead. I heard you said like after the first, again, it will be number one, the most important is intention. Yes, powerful intention. And after the session, like right now, I like to use a lot for the balancing chakra, wherever it's need to be balanced. When you go like even through your meditation, when you go through the white light going through your chakras and you try to align all your cells where it need to be stay longer, or anyway, it's for balance. Do you recommend after the session to do the earthing and grounding because you said something earlier? Is it something need to be done immediately or it's just intuitively?
Well, I would say intuitively, because in my meditations, what I do is I do a visual grounding. And you ground to the center of the earth. You put a conduit from your root chakra to the center of the earth to its molten core. And then you send all negativity down and incinerate it and send it out to the universe to free will to be what it wants to be. But so, like if you were to go and earth or ground for 3 to 5 minutes before you use it, it's probably more effective.
Okay.
But after is great also. And if you can't get outside, like places that have really bad weather in the winter, and you can't really go walking on, the ground, then a visualization, unless you have grounding mats and stuff. But the downside to grounding mats is that you're plugging them into the wall. And now you're going back into the grid, a false electrical signal. So grounding mats work, but they work better if they're ground without going into the outlet, so you got to go straight into the ground with a copper wire, sort of thing. That it's more connecting to the earth. But any kind of grounding works, even if you just soak in a tub, especially with Epsom salts, that'll help ground you. So any kind of grounding. So it just depends on what a person's able to do. And you really only have to do it. If you're out on the grass, for example, like 3 minutes, you're grounded to the earth. And the longer is better, but 3 minutes is all you got to do.
I'm just thinking for Angela to be more effective. I'm definitely, and he always grounding. He even put the copper wire to our bed through the window. Angela.
Yeah.
Actually, now I'm got it out because we're ready to move. But I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? That was a copper wire.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's the best type of grounding. Either that or go laying in the creek on your property. I mean, that
Oh yeah,
for you guys can ground so easily.
Right. But
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him that because I think that will be very important for him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
I
Kaleo can go out to the beach, you know, and she can ground on the beach, which you do, right?
I actually like every morning, like I get up really early, say 5 a.m. So right around 6, I take the dogs out and I don't want to have them on a leash because I live in a little community. So I let them run around the back and I always have bare feet. So I kind of stand in the grass and as long as the grass is wet, it's even better. So I do that for about 3 or 4 minutes. Then I go inside. So yeah, I mean, and I'm barefoot more often than not now, especially if I'm going to walk around outside. I have a little grandchild now, and I make her take her shoes off, and we go out into the grass because I have a huge lawn in front of my place that goes out to a lake. So I'm always just doing that because it's really helpful.
Yeah.
And wet grass is even better.
Oh yeah, you're much more
And
connected.
no sunglasses too. No sunglasses. Just trying. I very very rarely wear sunglasses anymore either. It's unless I'm in the middle of the day somewhere, but that's even rare. I tend to just go without the sunglasses.
Yeah.
What
That's
was
a
the
very,
salt you mentioned? Because I lost the connection. I have a very unstable connection.
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
You mentioned some salt that we could use for
Oh,
grounding.
Chris.
Oh,
So
Epsom
the
salt.
Epsom. Okay, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. I was just
Or,
wondering
or
because you
natural sea
mentioned
salt works really well too. So, any kind of natural salt that's unrefined,
I
you
never
know.
use refined salt.
Yeah, yeah.
I was always the weird one. So in
Well,
that sense.
then I'm
But
on that list.
yeah, always like, oh, here she goes again. Always so crazy and different, right?
that's
Yeah.
okay. Look, I have this tiny salt shaker I keep in my purse. So even if I get made fun of for being the weird salt lady, but it's so teeny tiny, it's pink salt.
It's
Not
cute,
that,
it's good.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
could use
have
that in the bathtub.
cayenne, like I heard cayenne pepper is very good for heart. Like if people have a like heart attack or this, I mean, I have little cayenne pepper. Of course, I have my essential oils, which I'm thinking like vetiver. Is it the right word? Yeah. It's good to put in Epsom salt and take a bath for grounding too. That's a good grounding oil.
Ooh, it smells nice too.
Yeah, and Vika knows a lot about oils,
Right.
and that kind of healing.
Yeah. Well, does anybody have anything else they'd like to
Yeah, it
add
was
real
just
quick?
because Chris, in the beginning, you're talking about the physical and the spiritual and the electric body, but we also have like mental body and
Mhm.
etc. Like we have 5 body systems. So I was also just wondering that one thing that could be maybe good to work with on with your intentions is to ask yourself how do I need to project myself now with my DEEMS? Do I have to work on my physical body, my spiritual body, or my mental body, etc.? So to get that energy to know, because as you said, they have to align before the complete healing will take place. And that makes totally sense. And that's why sometimes it can be such a long process that it takes a while before it really just clicks together. So I think this could be a very good beneficial way to approach your own healing process, to tune in and just ask yourself, okay, where am I at? Where's my focus now? Is it my physical body or my spiritual body or my mental body, my electric system, or whatever needs to really be adjusted now?
No, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Like a good way to do that is to visualize all your separate bodies, and then
Mm,
and kind of align them up through your central core or through your
yeah.
chakra system, and then kind of have them all lined up. Just to visualize that happening, is really helpful to get them all in sync, you know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for sharing and joining us today. I'll be sending the recording to Uncle Chris so he can put it on his YouTube channel. And if anyone else would also like the recording, let me know and I can email it to you. 'Cause there were several people who mentioned wanting to share it with friends But you could also send them Uncle Chris's YouTube channel link too. So whatever's easier for you. Um, was somebody going to say something? I thought I heard. Okay. All right.
Is
Well,
it easy to have new people? Like I have a couple new ladies who would like to join, but they don't know anything about, like they heard just, but they never have chance to see you guys, and someone like maybe not even believe in a lot of stuff, but I want them to help to open up.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I usually recommend people if they're trying to open up. There's some like Eckhart Tolle is really good for people that are just transitioning,
Mm.
because he has such simple, profound things that he says in a way that you're like, oh, I get that.
Right.
So that's really good. And I have a lot of very religious family, and so um, it's difficult to translate a lot of this into especially fundamentalist type religions because they get very defensive and frightened.
Mhm.
Uh, and that's because they've been taught, like I was, I grew up in it. We were taught that if you question God or anything in the Bible, you're going to hell. There's just no question. So then what do? You don't question things. And trying to get them to question things, just think a little bit, is sometimes quite a challenge. So we're using different terms with certain people instead of energy, we use love, which is the same thing, right? So so it's just good to ease people in sometimes, and if they're interested in energy, like the work of energy, Vika, then they could go on the Divine Evolution 777 on my YouTube, and there's the Deems Family Testimonials, and they just talk about people. I interview different people that are just using the Deems for all sorts of different things, and it doesn't go into anything too deeply one side or the other, so it might help them a little bit.
Now I want to try to start using on the plants, and I want to use it on the animals.
Lots of people use them on animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no placebo effect with animals. Either it works or it doesn't,
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Awesome.
Um,
Well, we'll see you guys next time. I'll
Okay.
we'll come together. I'll come up with another date for sharing and let you know. So thank you all. Y'all have a good
Yeah.
day.
Thank
So
you.
nice to meet you. Nice to see everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful device. It's amazing.
Yes.